Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guest is Leon Del Muerte. Leon is a very well-known heavy metal guitar player from bands like Exhumed, Impaled, Nails, and many, many more. Me and Leon were in the original lineup of the band Destroyed in Seconds, or DIS, as they're more commonly known nowadays. Their band, they're still going. They just put out a new record and it's fantastic. Me and Leon talk a little bit about that. And we tell a bunch of funny tour stories about some of our experiences. We've traveled far and wide together over the years. And he's a cool dude. He's one of my best friends. And I'm excited to have him on. Even if you're not a fan of, death metal or grindcore, it's still a good episode. There's a bunch of funny stories in there. And, he's a cool dude. So, as always, if you are on YouTube, you can hit subscribe and tick the bell to make sure you get updates on all of our future episodes. And you can share if you think somebody would like this episode. And you can give it a like or comment if you want to add to the conversation. If you are listening to the audio version, you can give us a subscribe or like wherever it is that you get your podcast content on iTunes. A 5-star review and a written note on the show goes a long way to Apple caring about this show and helping us to promote it. You can find us on all of the different social media at Anyway Whatever Podcast, and on Twitter at AWP_podcast. My personal design and illustration Instagram is at Maximum Fluoride. And stick around. This is a really funny episode. This one's not for kids because it's just got a lot of swearing in it. So keep the tender ears away from the speakers on this one. And we'll see you on the other side. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and anybody who knows me has been wondering how long it's going to be until I have my friend Leon Del Muerte on today. Today's guest is none other than Leon Del Muerte. What's up, Leon?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Enjoying these opportunities to talk to my friends.
Yeah, no shit.
Me and Leon have been friends for... Well, I think we've known each other for like 20 years, but we've been friends, like good friends, for about 15 years. And for a while, we were also neighbors, and we were kind of inseparable for a good 5 years or so there in Echo Park. And it was like there were like 4 bars like conveniently halfway between our houses. So there was a lot of bar. Great. It was a lot of bar hopping in Echo Park. And then Leon moved up to Portland a few years ago, so we don't get to see each other as much as we like, even though he's down in LA with all of his bands all the time, and I'm a hermit out, and so I never get out. Some bands that Leon is in that people might know are Exhumed, Impaled, Murder Construct, Intronaut, Terrorizer LA, Nails. Who else?
I did a stint in Phobia.
The Phobe, I forgot.
Yeah, shit. Who else? Fuck, I forget now. what goddamn bands I was in? DIS, of course.
Oh, right. That's right. I forgot. We were in the same band. We were in Destroyed in Seconds together, and we saw half the world from a van.
Yeah.
As a good part of our friendship.
Oh, shit.
So yeah, me and Leon are very good friends, and I have probably 5 or 6 people in my adult life that I would consider to have gone beyond friends into the family zone, and Leon's definitely one of those people. He's like a family member. So yeah, it was only a matter of time till Leon got on here.
Yeah, for sure. When you started this thing, I was like, just fucking, set my phone by next to my bed. I was like, I'll just wait for that fucking call.
Yeah, I was trying not to be super obvious with my guests, like right away, but
yeah, sure. Mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Get some people on that. I've been trying to get a wider array of people, and I've actually had a couple people on now that I did not know in real life. until I talked to them via the phone.
Oh, that's
even if it was
interesting.
people that I knew online a little bit.
Sure.
And that's been super rewarding too, just talking to people that I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool. That could be awkward, but it's fucking, well, you know how to talk to people. So
I do okay. Since I decided to like try to make it like a thing that I really do, it's been much easier. It's gotten much easier very, very quickly.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And Leon's wife, Liz, is also an amazing guitar player. And so, they're a good couple, and they're good friends of me and my wife's. And, whenever we get a chance, we all hang out and stuff. And we're all, it's all part of the same friend group, the LA, kind of death metal, punk rock, grindcore people. So how's Portland life treating you?
It's pretty good. It's actually fucking, not to get too bogged out the weather, but it just started fucking pouring raining. So that's some typical Portland shit. It actually was kind of warm, starting to warm up, and Portland was just like, nah, fuck that. So, yeah, I love this fucking weather, man. It's like, you were from the Bay Area also, and fucking, I missed, San Francisco weather so much. It's fucking cold and rainy all the time, and fucking, I don't know, man. That's really my shit. I honestly was talking about it with my wife the other day, and I was like, man, I have no idea how the fuck I lived in LA for fucking 11 years. It is so goddamn hot there, and so it's like we've gone whole years without a single drop of rain, and then you'll get like a torrent on January 1st, and then that's it for fucking 3 years. So,
yeah, the last 2 years here has been super rainy, and then
really?
Dude, just in the last like 4 weeks, it went from being like 65 and rainy to like 100, and then today I woke up and it was raining, but it was still 70 degrees, and so now it's
rain.
it's like super muggy in the studio right now. I'm all, fuck, I should have turned on the AC.
Oh shit, fuck. Yeah, I don't miss the weather in LA at all, but I do miss a lot of people there. So
yeah, I don't know if I could handle all that Portland rain. It might be too grim for me. Although I could definitely handle it more than I could handle like a place that has like a lot of snow. I couldn't do that.
It rarely snowed. I mean, we did have the worst snow in 37 years here about 2-3 years ago. But normally like a snow here, it's like we get a fucking dusting of snow that burns off by noon, and that's it. But it, the day that we moved here, fucking, that was September 2nd, 2015. The day that we moved here, like we pulled up into our brand new driveway at our new house, and we were like, fucking, like, oh, this is not so bad. It was fucking dry out, and we're like, whatever. And then fucking that night it started raining, and it didn't stop for 27 days.
Welcome to Portland, sucker.
No shit, man. Fucking A. That was, yeah. And then it stopped raining for 1 day, and then it rained for like 35 days after that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that might be too much for me. That literally might be too much for me. Like total random story. When I remember when you guys were looking for houses up there, you were trying to buy this A-frame house.
Yeah, that was so weird.
And then it turned out that a coworker of my wife bought that house, the same house Leon was trying to buy.
Yeah.
And it had a major plumbing thing, like a pipe broke, and it flooded the entire house. Like, and I was
it was.
well, so
I love that place. It was so fucking cool. It was clear that an architect, I mean, literally an architect owned it, because there was downstairs in his workshop. He had a workshop. In his workshop, there was one of those fucking little file cabinets that's super flat for fucking
flat file.
Yeah, like for plans and shit. So and this guy, it looked like a fucking a Swiss ski lodge or something on the inside, just raw wood everywhere. It wasn't in a bad neighborhood, but it was not close to anything. But I was just totally in love with the house. And I was just like, Liz was just like, nah, fuck this place. She's like, this place is, because it needed a lot of work. Some of the shit hadn't been updated. The 70s had those bottle bottom fucking glass windows everywhere and shit. Fucking total Brady Bunch puke lime fucking, green and orange and shit all over the floors and whatever. But I was like, I'm just like, And that's rare for me to see past that kind of shit, because normally I'll walk into a place and be like, this place is a fucking dump, and be like, I'm out of here. But that place was just like structurally was so cool. But yeah, then I was talking to your friend at that party, or at the one of those movie things in your backyard. I was like, just like, what the fuck? Like, that sounds just like, and then we're like looking at it on Redfin. It's like, that is the same exact fucking house. It's just like, that is berserk.
You were like, whoo.
Yeah, dodged a bullet there. Fucking, that was an expensive house too. It was not a cheap one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like that. And when we were looking for a house, like just not too long after that, in the most random it was one of the most random things that has happened to me. And I've had some random shit happen to me. I was looking at all these houses for sale, and they staged the houses so they looked lived in,
Sure.
And there was this laundry room that was staged, and it was like a washer and dryer, some like painting of like a meadow full of flowers, and then my At the Gates poster on the other wall, like unframed, just like taped onto the wall. I was like, what the fuck is that?
That's great. That's so funny.
I'm like, okay, first of all, who do I know that owns this house? Because
yeah, right. Yeah, this is clearly some friend of mine. Yeah.
And then secondly was like, whose idea of design sense was that to throw these four things together?
Yeah, right.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Is it the same one that's on your wall in the back there?
What's that?
Right behind you?
Yeah, it's that exact one.
Boom.
Yeah. How are the cats? How are the cats doing?
Good. Since, let's see. So you haven't been to the house yet, I don't think, right? You were up here for the wedding, but yeah.
But not the house.
The house wasn't quite habitable at the time. But since we moved, one of our cats died, Fatso. Fatso died about 2 years ago in June. And we just adopted a kitten that looks just like a tiny Fatso. Perfect. So, except that she's like, it's funny. We got her, and most of the time you have a hard time getting your cats to get along. Like, you put them all in a room and they fucking just hate each other for, years until they kind of, we have two cats that are like 15 and 16 years old that they just tolerate each other. They've known each other for a decade, and they just like, the one hisses at the other one every single time. And so anyway, like we got this kitten. We were just like, oh man, this could be a nightmare, because she was really shy, but she bonded with the other cats like instantly. But she doesn't like people, so she kind of stays the fuck away from us. But with the other cats, she's all right. So she follows one around, and she's works for her. So
Simon's good though.
Yeah, Simon's still kicking. He's the 16-year-old. He's gonna, I can't remember if he's gonna be 17 or if he just turned 16, but yeah, he's fucking old as shit. But he's still around. And it was funny. Like, you're at the wedding. My brother told a story about how he gave me Simon, except my brother's version of that story was 180 degrees different than my version of that story. My version of that story is, he's asked me if I want a kitten, and I was like, nah, man, I don't want no fucking kitten. I was like fucking drinking every day and doing drugs all the time and shit, and fucking just like partying like a maniac. I had just moved to LA, and like, just like, to me, like, LA was like this fucking like adult playground of fucking booze and drugs and shit. So, I was trying to make the most of that. I was like, I don't want no fucking cat. Yeah, what are you kidding me? And then he was like, yeah, all right, well, come over to the house tonight. We're gonna have dinner, and maybe we'll meet him, and we'll see what you think of him. And he had gotten Simon neutered earlier that day or a day before or something like that. So Simon was all drugged up. He was just like high as a kite, and fucking like, he was like, like this big, like fucking like 4 or 5 inches. It's just like a little potato with a tail, and he's all drugged out, and he's fucking walking into the walls and shit. And like, he's just flopping over. He doesn't know what the fuck. And I just like was like immediately like, okay, I'll take him. Like, God damn it, shit.
You saw a little bit of yourself in that little cat, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Leon had a it was almost like it was like a guest house that had been split into two sides in Echo Park that was it was kind of a notorious like party house hangout spot for all of us for a good decade. And anytime you went over there, Simon, that little orange cat, was over there hanging out. He was a good dude.
Yeah, he's the most social of the bunch. He was from an early age was made to hang around a lot of people. So
Yeah, right, exactly.
I used to it quick.
Yeah, it was like every Friday, Saturday.
Basically, after every show,
we'd just go out to shows, and then when we were done, it was like over to Leon's,
Yeah.
and everybody'd hang out, just hang out all night, drinking beer and talking about death metal.
As you do.
Yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, it was like, because I had Matt Harvey on, and Matt, anybody who's heard the Matt Harvey episode has heard this story, but Matt and Leon were in the band Exhumed together, and the first time I met Leon and Matt was at a show, and we were out back, and I was like, these dudes are fucking dicks. And and then like years later,
I mean, not untrue.
and then years later, when me and Leon started hanging out together, he explained to me that it was because at that show his amp had gotten stolen out of the venue, and so it was like one of those shitty touring days, and so it was like totally not his fault. He was an asshole.
Yeah. Somebody stole my pedals. Is what it was. And fucking.
Oh, I thought it was your amp.
Yeah, what the pedals for sure, but it's like it was, like years later I could admit to this now, but it's because like when I was done playing, I just fucking chucked them like on the side of the stage somewhere, which is the fucking dumbest. I didn't pack them up or anything, so somebody probably didn't even mean to take off with them or whatever, or maybe they did, but I mean they were probably within reach of the audience or something. Somebody could have just leaned right the fuck over and grabbed that shit or whatever.
Right, because that place was just one big room.
Yeah, and fucking at the time, buying a fucking $100 pedal was like, that shit would make or break me for a fucking month, So
totally.
That shit broke me for that month.
Yeah, I remember the story was that you just like grabbed the promoter, who was this kid who actually I'm still.
Oh,
friends
that
with.
I'm sorry, that
was. And you like walked him across the street to the ATM.
That was at Studio S. That was fucking.
No, that was at Cobalt Cafe.
Cobalt, shit, maybe you're right. Right near your town there.
Yeah,
fucking. I remember that dude's name, Jordan too. He's like a nice kid, fucking
super nice guy. Yeah, he's like friends with my son.
That was actually a different time. That was the amp got stolen. The amp was Wes Cayley's amp, and Wes is a dude who is unprepared for that sort of eventuality. So he was not handling it well. And
yeah, I mean, he was just a high school kid trying to put on death metal shows out here in the Valley when nobody would put any shows on out here, and so good for him.
He was a great guy. I felt, years later when we got to know him, I was like, man, I feel bad about this shit now. But it's like, I mean, that was like day 2 of the tour. And, it's like, we need a fucking amp. We're like, this shit's not going to work out for us. Just fucking wandering from city to city, borrowing fucking like Fender twin amps or something,
Yeah. I mean, there's been a ton of bands who've done that shit.
I've done that. Exhumed on the regular when I was playing bass. It's just like, I don't own any. I own a fucking $300 bass that's sitting over in that corner that fucking I had for, I've had for like, 15 something years or whatever, and no piece of bass gear otherwise. So I was like, we just roll up, and it's like I've played through fucking practice amps and little pig noses and shit on fucking stage and shit, like plenty, and it sucks. So,
Yeah, dude, totally. Like, I remember when you were playing bass in Phobia and you decided you no longer wanted to be in Phobia. So it was like your last show with them, and you just smashed that Phobia bass into a million pieces so you couldn't be tempted to rejoin that band.
Yeah, fuck. Oh, man, that was an even cheaper bass, too. That was like a fucking $10 bass that I got on eBay. It probably cost more to ship it than to fucking buy it.
Dude, totally. So what bands are you currently in at the moment that are actually active?
Shit, at the moment.
Well, no bands are active at the moment, but you know what I mean.
That I'm actually in. Like, I have this project I've been doing myself called Lightbreaker. That is
Yeah.
like an album I've had almost in the can for about a year now. Like I've got a lot of collaborators, so that's fucking, that just holds stuff up here and there. And
Sure.
then like when all this shit happened, that like I'm like the last fucking like minute of vocals that I need is like all I'm missing right now on that thing. So and then one of the vocalists moved across the country, and so I've got that thing. Nothing's really come out there yet. I'm doing this comp. Let's see, what other bands is playing with? Like Nails is done.
Is Nails done as a band or just with you?
With me, for sure. As a band, I feel like pretty likely. But, I don't know. They probably don't want that kid out, but that's too bad. But Terrorizer LA hasn't played in in over a year at this point. I wouldn't say that's an inactive band, but it's definitely
Terrorizer, the real Terrorizer. If you if you ask
some
anybody
people
who
say,
knows,
yeah, I might tend to agree. Let's see. Fuck, I was gonna play with a band from Norway at Maryland Death Fest, but that obviously is canceled.
what band?
I don't
Are
know
you
if I
allowed
should
to
or
say?
not. I don't know that they would care, but I was just gonna be filling in on guitar for this band Cadaver. They're an old Norwegian death metal band from
Okay, that's
way
good.
back. Yeah, they're like one of my, like, when I was a kid, I got their second record, Earache. If I could just like listen the shit out of it. I actually got it. I got that. I was on a cross country trip with my parents from Michigan to Texas, and fucking I got Dead Horse, Peaceful Death, and Pretty Flowers,
I
and
love that record. It's one of my favorite records.
Cadaver's In Pains, and that Cadaver record was so weird, especially at the time. Like, I don't know if you've heard it, but it's fucking
Yeah. I'm familiar with
Strange
Cadaver
one.
a little bit.
So there's that. So that was just more of a fill-in situation.
Yeah, we'll count it. You get the opportunity quite a bit, and which is kind of rad. It's like one of those things that when you were in LA and like those things would happen and be like, oh, we're going to do this, and you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna be playing with this band. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm like so fucking like grateful for that shit, because I just like I've gotten to play with some like the Terrorizer thing, Nausea, fucking so with Cadaver was gonna be cool. Fucking even play with Nails is that was cool.
The Nails one for sure was. I know that for you that one was like a big deal, because I remember like the day you came over to my apartment with the original Nails stuff, and you were like, dude, you got to check out this band. And I was all, what? And like, we were so stoked on, you're like, this band fucking rules so much. And then like years later, like you hit me up and you're like, dude, I'm in Nails now. And I was all, what? I was like, I knew you were stoked on that one.
Yeah, I loved that first record. A little bit of,
really
diminishing returns on that, but that first record was so good. And honestly, when I first heard that first record, a friend of mine sent it to me, and I was just kind of like, Like when I first heard it, I was like, it's too hardcore. Like, this isn't my shit at all. And then I don't know. It's like, the fucking record's 11 minutes long. So on like a car ride to, wherever I'm going, it's like I had listened to it like 10 times in a row, because you can't go anywhere in LA without it being at least an hour in a car. So, I was just like, fuck, man, it's pretty good, man. It's like, it's simple, it's fast, it's fucking like, just brutally catchy and, whatever. So yeah, being in that band was cool for that run.
Yeah. That was they're a good band. If they are no more, that would be a shame. But you know how it is with this business, man. With the underground, bands. Not a lot of bands last forever. So
yeah, or even past record number one.
Right.
Most of them don't need to last past fucking record number one too.
Right. Well, that kind of leads me a little bit into like, me and Leon have this running joke that we both hate so much stuff in the realm of music that if you combined all of it, we hate the entire combined whole of music. We refer to it as the vortex of hate.
Vortex of dislike. Oh yeah, vortex of hate. Yeah.
So yeah, like it makes sense that like, of course, me and you both are like, yeah, most bands don't deserve more than one record.
Yeah, well, fucking one and done. Fucking.
Yeah, dude, totally. So yeah, what me and Leon were in the band DIS together. And we were part of the original lineup, and that band's still going, and they just put out a new record that's way better than anything that they did when I was in that band. They got the lineup right now, man. That lineup is, that's the serious dudes.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've only heard like a couple cuts from that record, but it's vicious.
It's so good, man. But yeah, so it was originally started by me and my friend Bruce, who's still in the band, and he was also in Phobia. Anybody who knows grindcore knows the band Phobia. And he also owns Warlord Clothing. Shout out to Warlord Clothing and Bruce Reeves. So me and Bruce kind of had this idea to do a thing, and then we just started kind of assembling the people that, Bruce really was just kind of assembling the people that he wanted to play with. And I was, he just kept asking me if I wanted to sing for it. And I was like, I don't think I'm good enough to do that. But anyway, so then ended up with, Kent from Mange, and Leon, who was at the time in Phobia, and like all those other bands. And I somehow managed to find my way in there with them, and I just went along on the ride with them. And it was super fun. And we had a record deal right away. And we put out a record, and I think our second show ever was at a festival with a decent spot in the lineup. Like we got so many advantages, just because of all of you guys being in the band, that I just was like, fuck. Okay. I guess I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And like our first, in our first, like the first week we started playing out, we played like 5 shows in like 7 days. And like 2 of them were festivals.
And those were like in somebody's backyard and shit.
Yeah. And like one was in like a backyard, and we played like Mountain Bar and the Boulevard and like all those LA clubs. And,
Ferns.
We played Ferns on the floor, which was rad. No stage. Our second show was at this festival, and our at the same week we played the LA Murder Fest, which was like a big 2 or 3 day festival, like death metal grindcore festival here in Los Angeles. And they would bring over big bands from Europe and stuff. And so we had become friends with the guys in the Swedish grind band General Surgery. And so General Surgery was over, and then the band Rotten Sound from Finland, grind band Rotten Sound from Finland, was over for that festival. And so they were all staying with all of us. So we had this week-long party with the Swedes and the Finns. And
it was a liver duster. Fuck.
He totally was a liver destroyer. And so Rotten Sound and General Surgery were doing the LA festival, and then we're going to tour across the country and end up at Maryland Death Fest, which is the biggest death metal festival in the United States. So like the European bands would come out. It was really cool that the Murder Fest and the Maryland Death Fest booked about a week or 2 apart, so that bands could show up at one or the other and then tour across the country and get a whole U.S. tour in between the 2 festivals, which I always thought was a genius.
Yes, yeah.
And so we ended up playing a show in the meth desert of Southern California. That was like this all-day festival, and it was very, very rowdy.
Like 90% fucking children, like, is what it was, my recollection.
Teenagers, yeah, like very rambunctious teenagers.
Holy shit, that show. I just remember when those fights were breaking out and shit. And we're like this fucking gaggle of like drunk old men. We're like fucking in our van, just fucking drinking, like, just working our way through like a couple cases of fucking Bud Light, and fucking, man, just going in there playing, just like fucking drunk off our asses, and just like these kids just punching each other like so fast, like just like fucking alliances formed and destroyed in seconds there, and fucking just like, just like droplets of blood everywhere, just fucking just nothing but like fucking child blood everywhere. It's so gross and kind of amazing at the same time. Just like, I mean, how many fucking, like, if any of those people had been any older, would have just been like nothing but broken bones, but because they're made out of fucking rubber at that age, like they're just like, they just bounce right back, like no broken nose or anything, just like fucking kid walks home, you know, he's just fucking like just squirting blood out of both nostrils or whatever. That was unbelievable. I'd forgotten about that show, man.
Yeah,
Fuck.
it had the added advantage of having all of our friends from Sweden and Finland
Who don't
at
see
that
that kind of
show,
shit,
and
like-
they were like, "What the fuck, dudes?"
Yeah, is this normal here, huh?
So yeah, I mean, kids were like swinging. It was like in some hall, so kids were swinging on the chandeliers. Some
was
kid
ape shit.
was determined to try to fight me, so he's trying to jump on stage to get me, and I'm like punching him in the fucking face to try to keep him off the stage.
Oh my
We
god.
had like a big banner of ours behind the drum kit, and some kid ran on stage, ran behind the drum riser, grabbed the edge of it, and then just rolled himself up like a burrito in our banner. And
right.
like, he looked like a giant walking Tootsie Roll. It's like, just stage dove off with it. It was
Amazing.
hilarious. That was
We
one
had-
of the funniest things I've ever seen happen on stage ever.
It was so weird because I was only in that band for like, I mean, that was probably like the shortest amount of time I'd spent in a band or something. Like, you know, it was only like a year or two or something like that. Like maybe not even up to 2 years, but like,
I think you were there 2 years because I was there for
Yeah.
almost 4, and I was there not too much longer after you left.
so, but it was just like so much weird shit happened in such a short, compressed amount of time. Like every fucking Tickfaw, fucking, you know, Stay Damned, fucking like, you know, all this fucking like total gonzo shit that was happening to us. Like,
Yeah,
like,
our US
every
tour
day was a
was
a
chock
fucking
full.
new nightmare.
Our US tour was chock full of like every single show was like, what? Where are we? Who are these people? What
Yeah.
are we doing right now?
Great, because like everybody in the band was a fucking drunk. So like, like, you know, it's like usually in a band you'll have like one guy who has like, who doesn't drink or fucking like drinks very little and is kind of the responsible one. But it was just like with us, it was like 5 completely irresponsible fucking like, you know, 30 and 40-year-olds. Like, you know, like none of us were spring chickens at all. Like just fucking, but just recklessly drunk all over the place. Like, you know, not,
I will say we were very good about whoever's night it was to drive did not ever drink.
Drink,
We never,
yeah. We
the
were good
driver
about that.
never drank.
that was like the one fucking responsible thing out of like, you know, a million irresponsible, like, you know, 999 fucking 1,000 bad decisions, like the one good thing we did.
Yeah, that band was literally just an excuse to go out for like 6 weeks at a time and go on a bender. That was pretty much what that band was
Bender,
for.
which is fucking amazing.
It was we would get paid in beer because it was not about you couldn't make any money in a band like that. So we got paid in beer, and then we just bought more beer. At all
Yeah.
times.
Remember, it was funny because like one of the few places where we actually did get paid was in Tickfaw, which was like, that was like for sure we were like, Tickfaw is like a fucking national forest in the middle of like Louisiana or something, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's Tickfaw National Park is right out. It's between Springfield and New Orleans, right off of Lake Pontchartrain, and the Tickfaw River runs through there. And we, the whole entire story for this probably deserves its own episode.
podcast?
Like I
Yeah.
think it gets its own episode at some point. But the short version was every year this group of like hobo like train crusty punks who like hop trains all over the country. They were like literally hobos. They would all get together once every summer and rent cabins at this Tickfaw National Park in Louisiana. It was like on the bayou, and
fucking gators and shit in there. Like,
Dude, there were
like if
actual
you'd
alligators.
wandered too far away from the fucking where people were barbecuing and shit, like you would have just been fucking gator turds later on, you know?
totally. So like it just kind of got built up a little bit about this show over the course of the band's lore. And when we got there, we were like, they were like, we were gonna play in a cabin in the middle of this swamp in Louisiana, and to paint it a little bit differently, it was a beautiful cabin. It wasn't like some rundown shack in the middle of nowhere. That part,
we're like dreading it. Like the whole trip, we're like, God, this is gonna fucking suck.
we have to go play in the swamp to God knows who. So the place was actually really nice. Tikva State Park is actually beautiful, and that part of Louisiana is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my entire life.
For sure.
And when me and Christy were talking about places we might think about retiring, I was like, well, you got to see Springfield, Louisiana. And I was like showing her houses, like mansions in Springfield. They're like $300,000. They have like their own lake.
Right, they cost like as much as your fucking property tax. Like,
totally, because it's literally in the middle of nowhere. It is gorgeous there. But make no mistake, it is nature. We
like dangerous fucking, and not to, like, I mean, not that the nature was dangerous too, but these fucking like hobo punks were fucking like just as fucking wild as any fucking like, you know, they had been on their own bender for days before we got there.
Yeah, they'd all been there for like a week straight, like just partying for like a week straight. So it was, they were well seasoned.
They were lubed. They were primed and ready to go, man. They were fucking. That was like one of the wettest shows too. I remember when we played in that cabin, just like fucking, like the second we started playing, just like fucking beer everywhere instantly, like just fucking. So it's like everybody had to kind of stand stock still, or else you'd be like sliding all over this fucking hardwood floor and shit. You know, it's like we gotta. It's like I can't just leave this pedal on because it's like just like a total feedback generator, you know. And it's like, but I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it, I can't move. Like if I take one step in any direction, I'm gonna be flat on my fucking face, you know. I
had to stand on the carpet that the drum set was on because I just couldn't move because it was so wet. And but it was crazy because we were expecting almost nothing. We were expecting a small amount of people, very little enthusiasm, and absolutely
we thought we were kind of
no
like a total
money.
Thought we were like relegated to thinking that we were like a total afterthought. Like I almost thought when we started that everybody was just gonna like it, and when we got there, like, oh, there's a little bit of people here, and like I was just like, these people aren't gonna want to sit through this fucking shit. They're just gonna fucking split, man. And man, not the case. Fucking not even a little bit. And then like
pictures. I'll put some pictures up while we're talking about because I have some pictures. It was like the room got packed really, really fast. And those people were so stoked that we came out of our way to play for them and their group of friends. And it ended up being like 50 or 60 people just jammed into this cabin going bonkers.
Shit. And like just beer everywhere. And then like they fucking like, so we were like, wow, actually that fuck not bad, you know, like fucking like who'd have thunk it? Tikva was all right. And then we're like, okay, well, we're still going to be broke. And they fucking pass a hat around. Like literally passed a fucking hat. Fucking literal crusty hat with who knows, God knows how many patches on it. Fucking got passed around. And we've got like, I don't know, like I remember it being something like $300-400 or something like that. Like it was
until we went to Europe after you left, it was the most we'd ever been paid to play a show. Without question. Without question.
Insane.
And not only that, everybody ended up being just the nicest people. Like they were so awesome. Grateful, and so they had food, they had beer, they were just like generous and super, super fucking cool. Like to a person, it was amazing.
Friends with a couple of people I met at Tikva, like fucking
Dude,
Bo.
Bo's gonna be a guest on. Shout out to Bo Patrick. Yeah, he was there and he was showing like a slideshow and some video footage of him train hopping. And I just started talking. I was like, dude, this is such beautiful footage. And then it turned out he lived in LA, and me and Bo became total friends. And then I actually had him. He filmed the one DIS video that we all did.
My very first video, I think, maybe like it might have been my first video ever. I can't remember, but like, yeah, Bo filmed it and fucking, we met that guy in Tikva. Like,
totally.
What the fuck, man?
Dude, totally. Yeah, I'm still friends with several people that we met there. And I mean, that's 10 years ago. That ended up being super fun, man.
That was a great trip. I just remember like, you know, that whole trip is like, man, we're playing like, 'cause some of those shows were legitimate bummers. Like Pittsburgh was like, we played in
That
front
ended up being one of the funniest shows, though. The Pittsburgh
funniest
show.
shows for sure. That was, I mean, but that was like, we ended up playing in front of the other band that played.
Yeah, and like maybe 10 people. Maybe.
Like even less than that, but like, yeah, I was. But
Well,
we
that
got
was one of the
fucking-
nights that I wasn't drinking, so I probably had a little more realistic perspective. I was driving that night.
I didn't drive very much because I was
Neither
fucking
did I.
raging out like. But that was the night they had those bomb pop fucking drinks, and we just fucking when we the ice cream bomb pops like fucking like it tasted like that. It was fucking like easy as fuck to drink. It was like dangerously fucking easy to drink. And we must have drank like 30 of them between us, like
Because the venue kind of felt bad that we had such a bad turnout that they were very generous with the drinks too.
Yeah, like here, just fucking take whatever you want. But they were charging us, but they were charging us like $1 or $2 for the bomb pops or
Yeah,
whatever.
that was one of those nights where I was driving, so I wasn't drinking, and so it was like herding cats to get all you fucking guys back in the van.
A red, white, and blue drink, and so I distinctly remember having like purple vomit the next day. Like, shit got all mixed up in there,
That was the only time Sean, in me and Sean's friendship, me and Sean have been friends. For Sean was our drummer. Shout out Sean B. And in all of the years that me and Sean have been friends for 15 years to this very day, it's the only time Sean ever got belligerent that I can remember. And he was just not going to allow me to like be the fucking grown up at all. And I was like, fuck, man.
I do kind of vaguely have that. We're like, fuck that. We're staying at the bar because
And
it
I
was
was like,
just
no,
such
no,
a
no,
bummer.
we got to go.
Yeah.
We got to be in Chicago, guys. And they're all like, at one point I walked outside because I had finally gotten everybody to the van, and I went inside to do the idiot check to make sure we hadn't left anything. And I came out just in time for Leon taking his shirt off in the middle
Always
of
a
the
bad
street
sign.
in Pittsburgh. And I was like, fuck, man. I almost had him all in the van.
Yeah, if I take my shirt off, I'm fucking, I'm not there. I'm not home at all. Like fucking.
Fucking Dookie has showed up.
Oh shit! I haven't had a night like that in fucking.
Well, you got married.
Probably-
You got yourself a chick and you
Yeah.
got married. That's what happens.
Probably
That's what they
since
do to
then.
us sometimes. They make us the person we were always meant to be, I guess. Is one way to look at it. But yeah, so our US tour was it was a thing. It was a thing to behold. And we
were in that van. It was like we had this comfy
Moon
fucking
Goon.
and like this comfy conversion van that was just like the best way to I've never traveled so well in a van in my life, and I've traveled in vans for like a fucking solid quarter of my life, or if not,
right.
or
You were a
half of my life,
professional
rather.
van rider for a good part of your life.
life I've spent in a van.
Yeah, our drummer had bought this like van conversion in it. It had TV, had a PlayStation, Bluetooth stereo. Like it was super killer.
Folded down into a fucking bed.
Like it was like electric. So it wasn't even like, it was like you just hit a button and it like it turned into a bed. So we were styling definitely in that van. There was no doubt about it. A total random digression. The night that I drove from Pittsburgh to the next show in Chicago, I believe Chicago was the next show, was the first time I ever heard Alex Jones on InfoWars. And we were like in the middle of like Ohio, the middle of nowhere in Ohio. And I was just looking, it was like just me and Bruce was fucking shit faced. So he was like just chatty Cathy because he was supposed to help keep me awake. And I was just looking for something on the stereo and like it just happened to be fucking Alex Jones, and his guest was Charlie Sheen.
For it.
What's that?
Oh, that's the right spot for it. Like fucking upstate Ohio, like
It's like fucking
football
Western
Jesus that
Ohio.
yeah, man, that is fucking nowheresville.
Dude, and it was Charlie Sheen. It was right in the midst of Charlie Sheen's full-blown meltdown. So it was an
Fucking
interesting hour of radio content. And I was like, who the fuck is this Alex Jones dude? Yeah. And then, Chicago was like even more stupid and crazy because it was just we played this crazy punk squat in the middle of nowhere. or not in the middle
fucking
of
3 flights
Chicago.
of stairs.
It was like the desolate. It was like the desolate ghetto, and it was another one of those like house shows with the wood floor,
Fucking
and just
wet.
nothing but teenagers, and it was like the floor got wet immediately, and it was just a slip and slide, giant slip and slide. That was fun. It was a fun tour, though.
It was a great tour. I remember like like, you know, we get out to Maryland, like finally, like, you know, it's like we got a hotel, place to sleep, fucking, you know, we could party, blah, blah, blah. Like there's really no responsibilities because we weren't even playing. And fucking, but I remember like in the back of my mind, like there's like this running tab with Sean. Like Sean had been putting on everything that we bought, or like, you know, like gas he had to put in the fucking van. Like he had put it on his credit card. So it's
Any
like,
toll roads we weren't expecting.
he just absorbed it all. So it's like I didn't go nuts at MDF because MDF could be expensive, like, you know, at the bars.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, at the time, like the club that it used to be at, they would start raising the prices the later the night got. So it's like you would start out with like, you know, a $6 beer earlier in the day, and then by the end of the night it would be like $10 or something for the same shitty fucking Natty Bow or whatever. So like I remember like kind of taking it easy in Maryland just a little bit, also because like, you know, every now and again somebody just fucking throw you a beer and you'd be like, oh, you'd be set, you know.
Well, especially you. People buy everywhere we ever go, people would just buy you beer at shows because you're fucking Leon, and people be like, oh, I buy you fucking beer. You got so much. I never seen nobody get more free beer in my life.
Amazing. Yeah. If there's one claim to fame, it's like I'm a fucking total beer mooch. But yeah, I just remember having that bill in the back of my mind, and we're on the way back. I remember like we were gonna play in Vegas, and the fucking Vegas show got canceled, and we were like
At a fucking taco place in Vegas, of all things, too.
And we were like almost in Vegas, like when we heard, like we were only like an hour or two away, and so we are kind of just like, let's just fucking go to Vegas, man. Fuck it. Like, I was just like, and then I was like really fucking cognizant about how much money I owed Sean. Like, I'm thinking about.
We all were at that point.
All like
it was almost
fucking,
make good time.
It was like, I was like, I kind of better go to fucking Vegas and win this motherfucker. And I did. That's what happened. That's how I paid
We
Sean.
all did. It was the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life. We all played the least likely to win game, roulette, together at the same time, at the same table, and every single one of us walked away paying our fucking bill for the tour. All 5 of us paid our tour bill, winning roulette money.
Owed like $260 each or something, and it was all like I won up to like 270. I was like, done. All right, fucking like that's like the one response. That was the okay. So we did 2 responsible things on the fucking tour. It was like I paid back fucking Sean's ass.
Dude, I ended up making enough that I could pay Sean back and have a little bit of like I think what I did was I budgeted like $1,500 for the 6 weeks. So that when I got home, I'd still have money to pay my bills, all that shit. Like before we left, I had like $1,500 to like pay my bills when I got home and pay for anything that happened. And I think like when I got home, like I was like up a little bit more than I was expecting. So I was all fucking sweet.
Budgeted $15 for the whole trip. So, you know, I fucking got in the van with a bottle of Johnny Walker Red and a backpack and a guitar. You know, that was like it.
Yep, pretty much. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that was super fun though. That was a good time. That was a good like month or 5 weeks worth of time. And
bro down.
It was like the ultimate bro down. And really, I guess at the end of the day, like we all things considered, we all got along pretty well for that amount of time.
No fucking like explosive fights or anything like
me and you we had a little like a couple words in Maryland.
I was fucking like we had gotten there, and I was like at the point where like I want to go party right now, like right now, and it's like I didn't want to do anything else.
And I need you to be responsible for like 5 minutes, and you weren't having it.
No way, I'm fucking out of here. Like I'm gonna go party right this second.
And I was like, you know, I still had teenage kids, so I just like went right into dad mode. I'm like, no, we have to handle this right now. And you're like, fuck you, man. And that was like in the whole entirety of our friendship, that's the only time we ever like
it's gotten
exactly for like 2 minutes. And then like literally the next day, the first thing we both woke up and you're like, hey man, sorry. And I was like, oh, yeah, no worries, man. Sorry. It was just like over with. Yeah, we did all right. We did all right. And then we did Europe the year after without you. And that one was, that one was a little bit more, it was a little bit more internal tension on that one. But I'm glad that those dudes are still going and that they've got the lineup that they do and that they're putting out such an amazing record.
They got all the pieces in place.
They fucking deserve it. They deserve it for sure. Everybody who was in the band is still a very good friend, and all of the members that are now in the band come from our same group of friends, so they're also good friends. And it doesn't get much better than that. I think what happened was the year after DIS did the European tour, the same booking company brought one of the bands you were in over. Was it Exhumed? And went over, and then he had the same European tour driver as us. And so Leon had to listen to all the stories about the summer before and then the DIS dudes and all the bullshit we got into.
I heard all that shit. Yeah, shout out to Luke Van Gestel there, who's getting married, who would be getting married like next month if the shit wasn't happening.
Oh, shout out Luke Van Gestel.
Hi.
Super great guy. That's the thing about the music scene that we run in, is that we are fortunate that we get to travel all over the world, playing silly music to silly people, and then we get this amazing opportunity to meet so many cool people from all over the world, from the farthest reaches, northern Sweden, or like the Arctic Circle in Finland. And
right. You have like one good night with somebody on tour, and it's like you could be friends for life with that guy. Like that would be like your best man like 15 years later or
dude, totally. It's like going back a little bit to the General Surgery thing, when I was talking about how we did some shows with General Surgery when they were in the States for that tour. Their guitar player Yaki Carlson and their drummer Ade, like still really good friends. Like I still do a bunch of work for them, for all of Ade's bands. And I kind of glossed it over because we were so busy talking about what a bunch of fucking maniacs those kids out in the desert were. But Dr. Carlson, the guitar player for General Surgery, showed up at our rehearsal space like a couple days before the show and decided he wanted to do a song with us. And he wanted to learn Rise Above by Black Flag, which is obviously one of my all-time favorite songs from one of my all-time favorite bands. And so Leon had to like bow out for one song in the set and let Dr. Carlson take over. And that was, for me, like, it was like I hadn't been in a band in a long time, and just to like be on stage at all was weird. But to be on stage, with members of the band of Phobia and members of Exhumed and like all these like big dudes, and then Dr. Carlson's on stage, and I'm like, how did I fucking end up here?
Right. Yeah.
Of all the unlikely bullshit. Cause like, I had just spent the last like 15 or 20 years of my life being a dad. And then like all of a sudden I was like thrust into the spotlight.
It's like you were coming out of this dad mode, like when we started hanging out a lot, when I moved to LA, and like, it's like, it seemed like you were you were coming out of your shell a bit, like you were like fucking, like just starting to fucking like, drink every day that we were at rehearsal anyway. But like fucking every time we go to rehearsal, like fucking we're getting fucked up, and like but I do remember like kind of like a subtle shift for you from being like dad guy to like band guy.
Yeah, it was pretty weird because like anybody who listens has probably heard me talk about the fact that I had all three of my kids before I was 25, and my first one when I was 20. So when I hit 40, all my kids were pretty much grown. And my daughter was living full time with her mom, and my boys were, they were like 16 and 18, 17, 19. And I didn't have to be around, so I could go on tour. They could take care of themselves, and I could do whatever I wanted to do. So it was like a major shift in me from like going, like right around the same time I quit my full-time job to go full-time freelance. So my entire life literally went from like going to work every single day, coming home, making dinner, watching TV with the kids and fam, going out to the art studio to make art, get up, do it again, like standard suburban dad life, to like you're on stage with all these famous death metal dudes. Have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Actually, I had known Yake for a long time before that. He came out when I was still living in, I guess I was living in fucking Oakland at the time. Like right around 99, 2000, Yake wanted to come to the States, and I'd been talking to him on ICQ, fucking dating myself
ICQ.
there. And he was like, yeah, we're like, he's like, oh, you need a place to stay. It's like, yeah, you can come stay with me. And then, him and his friend, they like fly out, and, I'm thinking they're going to stay with me for a couple days or something. I lived in an apartment that was like the size of my studio now. Right. So, like maybe like 400 or 500 square feet, maybe. Like it was not even a real one bedroom. It was just kind of L shaped. So
Was it smaller than your place in Echo Park? Because that was small.
It's like half that size.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's me, Yake, and Yake's friend Robert. And I'm like, okay, so like, day one, we're just kind of, hanging out and chit chatting, like they want to go see some things and whatever. And I'm kind of like, so when you guys heading back? When's that happening? What's your plans? And they're like, oh, well, we're gonna go do this other stuff, but that's not gonna happen. So we're just gonna stay with you. And I was like, oh, okay. So how, what's the time frame here? This motherfucker stayed at my house for a month, and it was it was. I mean, they were very good guests. Like they were.
Yake couldn't not possibly be a nicer human being.
But I mean, we did the same thing where we just like fucking we're hanging out with my friends in the city in San Francisco and fucking just getting shit-faced drunk. And like, Yake's big, at that time they had the hoof and mouth disease in Europe. So like Yake and maybe Robert too had gone vegan or vegetarian. But one of the first things they want to do is go to a McDonald's, and they're just like, so we went to a McDonald's and they're like, oh, it tastes like just like home. Like they were like so surprised and shit. And I was like, yeah, man, this shit tastes the same. Like you go to fucking, a goddamn deserted island. If there's one McDonald's fucking there, it's going to taste exactly the same.
As a person with insanely picky eating tastes and having to go on tour, that is a fact. No matter where you go on earth, McDonald's tastes like McDonald's. And that's a good thing because sometimes you need to know what you're going to get when you get
grounded. Yeah. You're like, I rarely eat fast food, like almost never.
Yeah.
But fucking like, every now it always happens on tour. I'm just like, fucking McDonald's sounds great right now. Just like, I'm tired of eating fucking blintzes or whatever I don't know what the fuck, some like a fucking pierogi or some shit. Like, I don't know what this thing's got in it. And fucking, so I'm just like, you know what? I just want a bullshit fucking 69-cent hamburger.
Right. You're going to end up like staying at some punk house. And then in the morning, you're going to get like soy rizo and like fake eggs or something, like a bunch of like tastes like shredded cardboard.
Friend calls the punk stew, like fucking, where it's just like it's like the ingredients are like wheat protein or whatever. And you're like, what the fuck is that? Like I don't even know. Is that like the shaft of the wheat or something? I don't fucking know what this is, dude. So,
dude, we total like one of my favorite band meal stories. And anybody who tours the United States knows that there's no such thing if you're not a band that can actually draw a crowd. But in Europe, when you go over there, it's amazing because everywhere you go, they give you a place to stay that's clean, has a shower. The venue has a what's called a sleeping place. Everybody has a place to stay. And after you play, you go back to the sleeping place, and then they give you food, and like there's a big party, and it's like and then you actually get paid money, and it's super fucking weird for American touring bands to go to Europe and go, why don't we have this at home? But we played in Budapest, Hungary, which is a beautiful city, and I met friends in Budapest I'm still friends with to this day 10 years later. But the fucking promoter, he was like, oh yeah, we're going to bring you some food back to the backstage area. And we're just back there, and he just comes in with a big pot of cold kidney beans and like 2 loaves of the most stale bread I've ever seen in my entire life. Like it was so dry, you knocked on it and it was an echo. And I was like,
mouse living in it.
Fuck. And so like immediately, like I got really good at just going on food missions. And I just was like, if you go to the center the centrum of any European city, you're going to be able to find hot dog, a hamburger, like some bullshit like that. And I just got really good at like scouting out like shitty food like I eat at home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's fucking, yeah, man. It's fucking, I generally like that. Like, when you go on tour and like,
Sure.
you're in, like a lot of places, like, man, the first time I went to Europe, like, with Exhumed, I was like, so like you're saying, like, I was so shocked, like, oh, they're bringing us not only food, but like catering too. So it's like in the back of the fucking venue,
Like a
there's,
proper
like,
professional.
like, what the fuck did I do to deserve this? Like, I'm fucking 22 years old. I'm drunk off my ass every day. Fucking, I'm like, by all accounts, a fucking total loser. And like, here I am getting fed by these Europeans. And they would like take us to a real restaurant and like pay for our food and everything. Like, just order whatever you want, man. And like, fucking, it's like, it blew my fucking mind. So I don't generally tend towards, like McDonald's and comforty food like that. But you pull up in fucking like war-torn fucking Serbia or some shit, and like you're like, you know what? I'm just not dealing with this fucking like a fucking rat meat pierogi today. I'm fucking eating a goddamn hamburger,
Dude. Yeah, when we were in Germany, no, when we were in Austria, I went to McDonald's specifically because that is one of the places where the quarter pounder is specifically called a Royale with cheese. And with my Pulp Fiction infatuation, I was like, I am going to go get myself a Royale with cheese. You better believe that.
Yeah. I would do it too.
Yeah, dude. Madness. Just some of the squats there are so dirty. I just couldn't bring myself to eating them just because I'm being the germaphobe that I am. I was just like, I can't do it. I'll go find. Every city on earth has pizza. You know what I mean? Like you can always go anywhere on earth and find some place that's got a fucking piece of bread, some red sauce, and some cheese on top of it.
Man, I've had some of the worst pizza in my life in fucking Italy, but it's still a pizza. It's it's still fucking edible. So
right. In a similar vein, when we played in Dallas, we stayed with the family of one of the bands, the Acolyte guys in Dallas. Shout out to Acolyte, and the boys still live with their parents because they had a really close knit kind of hippie-ish family, and that was a killer
in a
year.
band.
It was awesome. It was a good show they booked. It was packed full of kids that went crazy, and then like we got to stay in this amazing house that was like everybody in the house is a musician, and there was art everywhere, and they served us this amazing meal, and that was a totally killer experience.
I had actually forgotten about that too. That was amazing. Yeah, the Acolyte guys. I actually have not talked to any of those guys in fucking. It's been years now, but fucking A, like they were like a super talented family. It was really impressive that the kids were playing with the dad in like a band, and then they
like
had
a crazy
their grind band, and then
like
they had
a
their
crazy jazz band. Yeah, crazy jazz band with the dad, and then they were like this two-man like grind band that was it was amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah. That's the thing about being in like a band that kind of tours the underground, so to speak, when you're playing like outside of, like 1,000-person venue and you're just playing bars and stuff like that is, and it's one of the things that I think a lot of us who are in like punk and underground metal scene really appreciate is that it's everybody's pretty much friends, and you just, every time you go out, you see all the people that you know, and you just add more people to that. And you end up with this rich life of people from all over the place. And I wasn't expecting that to be the thing that I got out of being in that band, really,
It's crazy that, I think about, one of my first national tour in 99 or 2000, and then kind of fairly regularly since then, up until the last few years. Like I still feel like there's like, in total, like maybe like, I could count on maybe like one, maybe two hands the amount of people I'm like, fuck that guy. I would never fucking be in a room with this idiot ever again. But like, there's like, and then there's like tens of thousands of people that if I saw, I'm like, dude, fucking,
Totally. Especially when you end up at like a festival or something and you're just
you know.
Everywhere
all
you
10,000
go, you're
of them
just
are
like,
there.
oh, what's up? What's up? Oh, what's up? Yeah.
You're just fucking like, you know, like it's like it's almost overwhelming, but it's because you're like just fucking like so full of joy that, you know, you're like, oh, I get to see, like, that's why I fucking love festivals, man. I wish there was more festivals in the U.S. I wish they happened more often, but you know, just like Maryland Death Fest, man, fucking Murder Fest, you know, shit, like
Yeah.
the Maryland Death Fest, Breakout Fest. It's all fucking like I wouldn't say I've never had a bad time. I've definitely like puked my guts out and had to shit and fucking.
But that
slept
was
on a
of
floor
your
somewhere.
own doing.
But that was of
Not
my
the-
own. Yeah,
not the promoter.
It had nothing to do with the promotion of the show.
Yeah. So needless to say, you just listened to an hour of me and Leon talking about all the fun we had that you weren't involved with. If you're listening out there.
This is like really interesting fucking radio here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but Leon, I appreciate you coming on and shooting the shit with me, man. It's been super fun.
And yeah. I
And
love
we're
talking, man.
after this,
Fucking,
we're gonna do a movie review that is nothing but a vehicle for us to tell another stupid story. So everybody keep an ear out for the Leon movie review episode that we're gonna record later. Is there any shout outs you want to put in?
shit, man.
Well, you have to put the Leon created the intro song that you heard on during the title animation. So he has a company and a website for his music in that respect. What is that?
And audio. That's kind of a new venture for me. Like I'm trying to get into. Me and my wife are trying to break into, you know, making that just exactly that kind of thing. Like, you know, title sound like a little incidental music. If fucking, you know, like if people need, you know, intro shit like that. Just like
jingles and songs for TV, movie, websites, etc.
Exactly. Like, you know, just like, you know, not necessarily original songs. Well, I guess they are original, but you know, just fucking, you know, music, background music, all that kind of stuff. That's you know, that's what I'd like to be doing. 5 years from now, I'd like to be doing that like full time.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to find a way to do that together, because that was actually super fun. We spent like a week like kind of co-writing a song. It was super fun. It started out like it was supposed to be one thing, and then it ended up being what it is. And it was, when I played it for Christy, like the final one, I was like, you got to come out, because she'd been listening to all the versions, and she was like, I don't know if it's there. And then when I played like the final one, she just started laughing. She's like, God, that is so perfect. Like, it's so good and it's so perfect. She was super stoked on it.
Great. So, you know, if it satisfies Christy, then
There you go.
I'm satisfied with it.
Where can people find you on like Instagram and stuff? Del Muerte or?
DelMuerte.com, Facebook.com/DelMuerte, BeastmanAudio.com, Facebook/BeastmanAudio. I think that's all my stuff that I'm promoting right now.
You're not doing anything with the hot sauce yet?
I mean, right now it's kind of a weird time for that, but
Right.
I have been making hot sauce and sending it to people. I did a batch. I sent one out to Fisher and a few other friends just to get some real world feedback on it. People generally liked it. They all generally liked one. The other one, kind of nobody hated it, but they weren't crazy about it.
What, the habanero one?
That one
It
needed
was
some
fun.
work.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it.
But yeah, at some point I want to, you know, do that. I don't know. I want to get my fingers in every fucking pie, and you know, I'm actually inspired by guys like you that fucking, like, you know, you work for yourself. And although I've worked for the same company for 12 years, and I'm super grateful to them, they're the best company I've never worked anywhere for longer than like a year and a half or 2 years. Right. But like, you know, this place I've been there for 12 years. They treat me great. Fucking, it's family. You know, if I was out of there today, like, I would keep in touch with a ton of those people. But like, you know, just as you get older, you know, you want different things out of life, and what I want is to just fucking manage my own money.
Right. So. It is. If there's anything that is the American way, it is that people want to own their own business and operate their own way. And you know,
like I would, live and die on your own fucking merit instead of,
Yep.
That sounds
Totally.
good to me at this point.
Yeah, Leon, like just a little bit to go back a little bit. Leon started doing hot sauce, and he sent me a couple because he was going to have me do the label art, and we got about halfway through the label art. We got actually a little bit further than halfway. We were pretty close. And then, the whole, COVID thing happened. And so it kind of slowed to a crawl, but then he just happened to have this other music project that he was doing. And then he hired me to do a logo for that. And that's actually when people who listen will be familiar with Caleb Schneider, who's been on a couple times. And he actually was in the band Murder Construct with Leon, and he played on this project that Leon's in the midst of finishing right now. And so did Matt Harvey, who is also a guest of the show. And that is I got to do the cover art for that and the logo. And that was really super fun. And the songs are cool because they're just kind of like reimaginings of, I hate to say they're cover songs because that isn't quite right. A cover song to me is when you're
pretty some of them are pretty like similar to the original, except that they're tuned differently and whatever, a little crunchier,
little death metalier.
Some of them are a little more fucking out there. I was at home just again, I was trying to get some Beastman, hype going or whatever. I was at home and I just started fucking recording covers at home and just do that. It's it was just for fun. It was also just to get me once this thing all started, I was kind of bored. I was I just want to play and I don't know what to play. Sometimes writing your own music is fucking difficult. And so I was just I'll just learn these covers, and fucking, so I did 9 covers and it's all friends on all of them. There's a ton of fucking people on all of them. It's an
amazing lineup of musicians who are on this record.
And I figured that what I would do with this is just not trying to virtue signal or anything like that, but it's just this is a really hard time for a lot of my musician friends, and so people who played on it, and even people who didn't play on it, I'm just gonna donate whatever I make on it to the people that played on it and friends that need help right now, that need a couple bucks for fucking groceries or whatever the fuck it is. None of my business what people do with their money, but I'm gonna fucking just split it up and just Ross played on 4 or 5 songs, so I'm gonna give him a chunk of it, and whatever. I don't know. I don't want to presume that it's gonna fucking make a ton of money, but whatever it does make is gonna go to those people. So.
Right? Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I love that that you decided to do that, and that's a testimony to why we're such good friends, because you're a good dude, and you would do good dude thing like that. I have some other friends who are in the middle of kind of a similar situation where they're trying to figure it out, and they're taking more time to help other people than they are themselves. And that's impressive to me right now when, people can be scratching and scraping. And then they take the time to help other people who, that's just, again, that's kind of a testimony to our friend group and our lifestyle. People, I think, tend to think that we're just a bunch of drunken dipshits and everybody to a man is a good person or woman is a good person, and we all help each other and we all help the world as much as we possibly can. We just look dumb.
I mean, everybody's got their fucking tragic flaw, right? So.
Oh, dude, totally. I think that is going to just about wrap it up. Cool, man. I'm going to have you on. For sure, I want to have you back on when that record's ready to talk about that, because the more people that know about that, the more money you can raise for people who could use the cash. And it's a cool record, and I think people will enjoy it. It's been mentioned a couple times now. So yeah, when that's ready, let me know, and we'll do a little promo shot of that too. All right, man. Say hi to Liz and the cats for me. All right, dude.